he encouraged their outrageousness, like Lady Gaga. I mean, what would it epitaph? He got them to think like Reb Zalman would. What would your epitaph be? And is that an interesting practice? I don't know. It seems interesting to me because I think about that sometimes. What would I put on my tombstone? And the other thing is, usually when someone passes away, there's confusion. You call up the rabbi, you call up the Chevra Kadisha, but there's a certain level of confusion. But you don't think about epitaphs at that point. So maybe it's a good thing to think before about what your epitaph should be so that your kids will know to put on your thing. So just a little funny thing. There's a family whose name I think is Wise, W-I-S-Z, which is your last name? No?
Yeah, well,
what's
W-E-I-S-C.
Right, but right next to where Zalman's buried, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. But anyway, he has a thing on the back of his matzeva, his memorial. It says, "I had a hat when I came in," which is an old English Yiddish joke. Do you know that joke? The joke is a bubby is walking with her grandson on the banks of the ocean, and suddenly a giant wave comes in and scoops up the grandson and schleps him out there, and she's like shocked, and then she starts screaming at God. God, what's going on here? We're just walking we're just walking on the shore, walking on the sand. God, can I have my grandson back? Nothing. God, what kind of God are you? What kind of a stupid God are you? Wait a second, I want my grandson back. What? This is not okay. Silence. There it is. I'm done with this kind of a God. Where is the next Buddhist temple? I need to go to a good Zen monastery, or I need to go to an ashram. All of a sudden, the wave flings the kid right back next to her. She dusts the kid off and says, "He had a hat." No, I don't know why that's funny. Do you know why that's funny? It's a level of chutzpah.
Give me more.
Yeah, give me more is part of it. And there's also a level of Jewish chutzpah of like you can argue with God. And God will come around. But you know what I mean? God will come around. But you have to, sometimes chutzpah is good. Especially, now another custom I was going to suggest is choose a Rebbe. Choose a Rebbe. There's a wonderful book called Tales of the Hasidim by Martin Buber. He tells these little one-paragraph vignettes about different Hasidic masters. And what he does is, he just shows you who they are by these stories about them. And so I was thinking that, I have a particular tie-in to one particular Rebbe named Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, because it turns out he's my mother's, maybe my father's too, but my mother's grandfather's Zeta. So I was always drawn to his stories even before I knew that little piece of information. But there's other guys in there, and I would think that a nice practice for a person to use for a year is to read the beginning of Tales of the Hasidim. There's an introduction that kind of describes each Rebbe and where he was from and what his life was like, very, very briefly. And then it proceeds to do lots of little vignettes about these 30, 40, 60 Rebbes. I never really counted them. And to say, this year I'm going to look at the world. Now, most people will know stories about the Baal Shem Tov, and they know stories about Reb Nachman, But there are other guys there. The Chosev Lublin, there was a guy who apparently could see from one end of the earth to the other. That was the quote. He was a Choseh, he was a seer. What did that mean? That somehow, in some mystical way, if something happened in Russia, he felt it in Poland. If there was what is it called, a tear in the etheric fabric, in the way of the world, he could tell when a great Rebbe died. He could feel the loss of energy. And we talk about it. And people go, oh my God, that was when that rabbi died. when he started talking about that, Rabbi. So what would it be like for a year to immerse yourself in the stories and the neshama of the Jose of Lublin? Or of, I mean, again, you could do the Baal Shem Tov, and you could do Lubavitch, you could do Shneur Zalman, but those guys are a little overdone. Some of the other rabbis need a little visibility because each one of them had a massive soul, a massive, healthy soul. So that would be a nice ritual. Pick a rebbe and immerse yourself either in that book. There's also a book by Reb Zalman called Within a Flame. What's it? Do you remember the title? Wrapped in a Flame, where Zalman tells you stories about these different rabbis. And those are beautiful too. And again, he does a whole bunch. And then Elie Wiesel has a book of portraits of great rabbis and of great masters of Jewish history. So any one of these is a good source to pick up on somebody and to make that your rebbe for the year. My pick a rebbe for the year. All right. Any questions, thoughts about that? Say again?
I said Yasher Koach.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Seems like we might expand our own soul knowing by relating to those rabbis.
Yes. I think we do, I think it's very powerful. And the one you pick, you can do it on a pshat level. I just like him because he was like a funny Rebbe, or he was an ecstatic, like, Reb Zusia. He was one kind of Rebbe. His brother, Elimelech Leshevsk, was like very academic, brilliant, rich, different. He was like a Wall Street Rebbe. And Reb Zusia was like a Bronx Rebbe. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of an energy. All right. So, I think I've said enough. I'm gonna sing a little now. I think I'm gonna sing a Shlomo Carlebach tune. The words come from the Amida with a little bit of changing. It's by Shlomo Carlebach, but I'm a little different than him too. Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad, Kulanu Ke'echad B'yar Panecha. Bless us, dear Father, dear Mother, together. Together we are one in the light of your love. La 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 Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad, Kulanu Ke'echad B'yar Panecha. La 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 la
heavens.
So one of the things I used to be known for in Fort Collins was in setting kavanot for Shabbos. And how did I do it? I based it on the great teachings of Alan Robbins. Who was Alan Robbins? Not Tom Robbins' kid, or who was that guy? Robbins, who made people walk on coals. You know, there was a guy who had...
Little tall guy, Tom Robbins.
Tony Robbins, not
Tony
him.
Robbins.
This is Alan Robbins of Toronto. And he had this very funny little game he played with us. Every Shabbos, some article on his that he wore, one article of clothing, had something to do with the Parsha. Something to do with the Parsha. So like for Parsha Noach, you know, he'd have a tie that was all whales. Or, you know, there was all fishes and whales. Yeah. Or for, I don't know, what else did he have? I don't remember. But he would you're crossing the Red Sea. He had something there. He'd wear red, you know, different things. He'd wear a red jacket, you know. Anyway, so Alan Robbins had this thing where his clothing told you what Shabbos it was, if you could figure it out. You know. So what I used to do in Fort Collins was I would do T-shirt Torah. I mean, who here has T-shirts with things written on them? Who here has T-shirts that have nothing written on them? Right. Most people actually don't want to advertise, what do you call it, Adidas, you know, or, you know, some people want to advertise that they're from Colorado, so they put that on, you know. But this is my T-shirt Torah. So when I want to do a Shabbos of social activism. Oh, that's interesting. No, this says Chachmat Halev, wisdom of the heart. Chachmat Halev, and it shows you a maze, you know, a holy maze kind of thing. And this is actually the name of a synagogue in Berkeley. Chachman Alev. Actually, it was on the Berkeley-Oakland border.
Is that David Cooper?
No. This was Avram Davis and his wife Sarah Schendelman, and they used to have it was a synagogue, but it was mostly a meditation center. Richard Kaplan was active there. Daniel Ziegler was there. Richard Ziegler, yeah. So when I put this on, I guess I want to be more meditative that Shabbos, all right? And when I want to reach out, not this week or this past month, but if I want to reach out to Arab moderates, I got this. When my son had his bris, there was a place in Fort Collins called Yum Yums. And the people who ran it were a Christian Lebanese family. So I had them Cindy and I had them cater our son's bris. We did it for the whole shul, so we had all this wonderful Middle Eastern food, and we invited them to come and partake with us, to share with us. And so, you know, I always associated them with people reaching out across religious barriers and across political barriers. So I can't do that this month. I don't have enough heart in me to reach out to Palestinians. I just don't have it, man. It's not like it's funny, yesterday I was in a little place called the Root Company, a kava coffee house here in Boulder. And I was wound up talking to a guy who told me his name was Mo. I said, what does Mo stand for? And he said, Mahmoud Mechesel. He gave me his family is from Kuwait. We actually got along great, but we didn't talk politics. We didn't talk Israel, Kuwait. Just didn't, you know. But this is on those good days I can think of yum yums. All right. And what else? Oh yeah. And this is when I forget roots. I remember that the place I grew up was Canada. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't grow up in the Bronx also, but I lived in Toronto from 22 to 40. That's when I really grew up, you know. I had to deal with being a father, I had to deal with being a celebrity, I had to deal with being a, you know, person of means, you know, going from zero money to a lot of money. I had to deal with that. Oh, that all happened in Canada. And then I had if I wanted to, just recently, at a recent Kala outside of Philadelphia, I got this. Friend of E. Wilson sent me this.
Okay.
See what it says? It says, "You are love." Thank you, E. Wilson, and your friend. When I feel this is v'ahavta l'orecha kamocha, love your neighbors yourself, you should start with this one first. You should be okay with yourself. If you're not okay with yourself, it's hard to love somebody else. If you're like, you know, torn and driven apart by your own self-doubts, it's hard to notice this. Then it's hard to love somebody else. And I like to love other people. It's a good thing, you know, that communal relationship. And then, you know, if I get very, very serious, I remind myself that once upon a time, Denver High meant Peyton Manning, 18. Denver High. That's what it says here. Look at this. Isn't this a great T-shirt? It's like it's probably a, what do you call it, collector's item at this point. Yeah, Manning High. He brought a lot of happiness to this area. And oh yeah. Even though it's been a horrible week in so many ways, you know, I was dealing with my friends in Ohala, you know, the Rabbinic Association I'm part of is very liberal, very left. And politically right this week, I'm not in alignment with them at all. I so am not in alignment with them. But I do remember that in 2013, Kala called Echad, you know, connecting to the divine within and around us. That's what that Kala was about. 2013, that's only 10 years ago. So I was here, but things change. And I'm not so much, I don't know how much I would support a Kala right now. But I do support all manner of elk and moose.
Amen.
From Rocky Mountain National Park and from just being here in Colorado, you know. I live in a beautiful bubble. And may the bubble continue to bubble along with happiness. People understand each other here and also understand my pain about the Middle East. So, T-shirt Torahs. But one thing not to forget for me is the heart of the matter. See, there's an atom with an electron going around it. And the heart of the matter is what? If I asked you what is the heart of the matter of your life these days, what is it?
Are you asking that?
Yeah, I'm posing a question. An inscrutable question that has no wrong answer. What is the heart? What do you look at? What are you thinking about? That's the heart of the matter. Julie, you got a heart of the matter lurking in your life?
Oh. I started early in life to think the heart of the matter was contributing somehow to the world.
Amen. I'm so with you on your train of thought, and on your peace train, on your love train. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Heart of the matter, Miriam.
No, Linda.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Like, what is the heart of your life these days? The heart of the matter. It could be more than one thing, and you don't have to say anything you don't want to say.
Being a blessing in this world.
To be a blessing in this world.
And
Thank you. Thank you for, yes, as Miriam says, you're already doing that. It's nice for you to know that. That's what's up for you. Ed, you got a heart of the matter these days?
It's just a struggle to stay connected for me.
A struggle to stay connected, I hear you. You know, some days I just like my apartment, and I just don't want, and I have food in it through the help of others and myself. But I just say, like, should I really go out there? It's a dark, stupid world, man. A lot of violence, a lot of craziness, a lot of misdirection, a lot of talking, and a lot of doing that's violent. And is the human race really supposed to be around? You know, the rabbis in the Talmud had a discussion for 2 years, it says, and the discussion was, should God have created people? At the end of 2 years, they decided, no, God shouldn't have. But since God did, let's each try to make the world a better place before we leave it. I like that. That has both, a Jewish humor and Jewish deep truth to it. It's like, you're here, make it better. Don't make it worse. You're here already. So I think I'm gonna. I had so many things I could tell you, but this was probably a lot. And I think I'll end with. By the way, there's a thing, and I don't know in So there's a thing in Yigdal that says, from Moses to Moses, there was nobody like Moses. You know that little sentence there? So I have a question for you. Have we had anybody since King David as good as King David in our tradition? What do you think? Not. So we had a King David who was a great lyricist. 3,000 years ago, people are still sticking their new melodies onto his words. He wrote, or at least given credit for, 150 psalms or songs. Have we had someone come along on the level of King David? One response is, no, what are you talking about? In the Jewish and Christian tradition, the Psalms of King David are the highest poetry. We put melodies to it, all that. But how about if I said, yes, we have had this guy, his name is Bob Dylan. He's pretty amazing. I think he's on the level of King David. What do you think? Guy who wrote All Along the Watchtower, a song about, what's going on in sieges and in wars. A hard rain's gonna fall. That's very prophetic. That sounds like Arthur Waskow. All I really want to do is be friends with you. That's kind of good. That's kind of a post-feminist statement. Blowing in the wind. It's like social action. Don't let other people suffer because you suffered and you know what suffering is. Anyway. And then the last song is, the next to the last song is called When I Paint My Masterpiece, which is a great, funny song about him becoming a painter and being in Europe and painting the Spanish, becoming like Van Gogh. And then the last song is You Ain't Going Nowhere, which is a good kind of a Kohelet thing to say, like a very Jewish thing to say. It's like, Anyway, so Bob, you might be the reincarnation of King David. In any case, I love what you do, and I love that I was able to teach this class in all its possibilities, and to all of you. And I'm counting numbers 367, so that each one of us is a sustainer for a day of the week. I hope one of us is Shabbos. I hope one of us is Monday. I hope one of us is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that we can have a week that's full of the beauty that I see streaming in this room right now. So a good vach to everybody, and may we hear, as you say in Yiddish, soll men hören besiras teufels. May we hear just good news this week. May we just get inundated by good news, and we could leave some of the crap out this week. Bezras Hashem. Bezras Hashem. May we hear only good things. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Jack.
And may your life be excellent.